Welcome back to Train Recaps. Today I will show you a horror film from 2022, titled The Cellar. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The Woods family is moving into their new home in the countryside. Kara and Brian are very proud of the house they bought for their children, and their son Steven is excited as well. But their daughter Ellie is a different story. She hates having left her friends behind and feels disconnected from her parents, thinking they don't understand her. This house called Zao is very particular. There's an old painting of a man with a finger raised, and letters from an unfamiliar alphabet with a triangle under them which are placed above every door except for one, that just has a pentagon. When they check out the cellar, they don't find it very interesting, but on their way out, the door gets closed before Ellie can leave. There's something wrong with the lock that won't let her open it again, and when she feels something in the dark approaching, she begins getting scared. Fortunately, the key is hanging right next to the door, so Brian uses it to let her out. In the evening, Kara asks Ellie to babysit Steven because she and Brian need to go to the office for an emergency meeting. While Ellie is on the phone with an old friend, she suddenly gets jump-scared by a strange figure. It's just Steven wearing a cloak and a weird-looking skull that he found in a hidden compartment in the rec room. The family hadn't known about this hidden compartment, so Ellie checks it out and finds a plaque in it that says "Solve et Kagula," an old record player, and an abacus. Steven says he's heard the house used to be owned by a witch that made a pact with the devil, then asks to try the record player. Ellie gets it to work, and the recording plays the voice of a man reading the equation written on the record before it starts counting. A few hours later, a strange breeze comes from under the cellar door and cuts off power in the entire house. Ellie calls her mother for help, and Kara tells her to go down to the cellar to check the circuit breaker. Too scared to enter such a room in the dark, Ellie says she can't do this, so Kara tells her a little trick of hers she uses when needs to clear her mind. She counts. Kara guides Ellie through the phone, encouraging her with each step she takes and counts. 10 should be the last step. But when Ellie reaches it, she closes her eyes and falls. On the other end of the line, Kara can hear her counting up to 30 and not responding to anything she says, so both Kara and Brian hurry to return home. When they get there, they can't find Ellie anywhere in the house, so they call the police. A quick search of the surrounding woods is done to no avail, and since there isn't evidence of any crime happening and Ellie has run from home before, the cops just tell the parents to wait for news since she's probably at a friend's house. In the morning, the family asks some neighbors for their help and they go into the forest to search again, but the result is the same. Brian understands the Ellie had been mad with him, so it's natural that she ran away. But Kara doesn't think that's the case. She's sure something happened to Ellie because of how eerie her voice sounded while counting. The next day, Kara begins hanging up missing person signs and forgets to pick up Steven at school until the teacher calls her. Once her son is with her, Kara goes to the police station to see if there is any news, but the detective doesn't have much to say. They've checked security cameras at bus and train stations. They also called Ellie's friends, but there are no leads, especially since they haven't found her phone either. The only important thing the detective can comment on is the fact that Ellie has been bullied and harassed on social media for a while. Feeling guilty because she didn't know that, Kara asks for forensics to come to check the cellar, because she's convinced her daughter didn't run away. Once again, the detective must remind her that since this isn't a criminal case, he can't do more. When she goes back home, Kara notices the phrase "Solve et Kagula" is carved above the front door, so she decides to search for it on the internet while Steven makes his ball bounce against the cellar door. The search results reveal this phrase is connected to old alchemy and means dissolve and coagulate. The pictures related to it show a 5-pointed star and a picture of a weird snake. With her curiosity peaked, Kara calls Steven over, and her son joins her after dropping his ball near the cellar. Steven tells his mom that nothing out of the ordinary happened the night Ellie disappeared. The only thing they did differently was to turn on the record player. Considering it unimportant, Kara puts her attention back on the computer to check Ellie's social media, where she finds out her daughter had gotten an anarchist tattoo that she never told her family about. Afterward, Kara decides to check the cellar again. She stares at the pentagon above the door for a moment before going inside with a light tube. This time, She notices there are Roman numbers on the steps and an equation at the end of it, matching the one on the record player. But the most shocking surprise comes when the tube's UV light reveals a bunch of disturbing faces painted on the wall. This is enough for the cops to finally send a forensics team, of which one of the men accidentally pushes Stephen's ball inside the cellar. Unfortunately, the cops don't find any other clues, and the only thing they can say is that the painting had been there since the 50s. When asked about the history behind the house, Brian explains they know nothing about it, except that it used to belong to an old lady and they bought it very cheap. Night falls and the whole family goes to sleep, but Kara is woken up